Ketanji Brown Jackson sits on the cusp of being confirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court, so we will talk just a bit about what is going on with that. In other news, Zelensky addresses the UN Security Council over the atrocities that happened in Bucha. Tulsi Gabbard diverges from her party and defends Florida parents on the Don't Say Straight or Don't Say Gay bill, and Democrats brace for the end of Title 42. So we'll talk just a bit about what all that means. It is going to be all this and more. You're just mad you can't date me. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. I'm not going to lie to you, half the stuff we have on the stack for this morning came this morning. Like, I had a little smattering of stories ready for last night, ready to go. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a really slow news day. And then I see stuff about Ron Klain and about Mitt Romney, which there was some of that from last night, some more Ketanji Brown Jackson stuff, and a bunch of Ukraine stuff that happened overnight here. So, I mean, I'm running a little bit behind because I, went through and combed through again and went to go find everything because it's, there was more there. And of course, we have the news story the news show that you guys deserve, which is complete and has everything off of that. So let's get into it. Let's get started. I don't know why either. I was up early. I thought, hey, we'll actually get back to our 7 o'clock start time again here today. But then it's just, hey, there's new stuff here. So let's get this up, organized, archived, and ready to go. Plus, IBD was slow as hell. IBD was slow as hell this morning, getting out the morning Dow report as well. So, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of stuff going on with that. Let's get started. Let's get into it because I know you guys have been waiting for quite a while to get your news going. So let's get started. But before we do, head on over and check out TurnsOfPagesProductions.com, our new website that's been being teased for, it's got to be about 6 months at this point. But this is going to be our one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. Once we get started, you will be able to find great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, the new upcoming project with Britt and Sean Hickman, and a new surprise project that's going to be coming up with that once we get launched and started here. So a lot of stuff that's moving with that, a lot of stuff that's going, a lot of stuff that's shaking, but that is something to pay attention to with this. And I mean, there are other ways that we want to go with this as well, not just news, not just culture, but entertainment, music. Maybe a movie, maybe some TV shows, something like that. I know that we have a long way to go to get to that point when a lot of our competition is getting there already before us, but we do want to get into some of those areas and, start to shift the culture in the way that works for us rather than us working for whoever is running the culture. So definitely go check that out. And if you want to give and you're in the know, we've got the Give, Send, Go up here as well. GiveSendGo.com/TurnsOfPages101 with the full government name on there. I still got to figure out when I'm going on Nichols to go and tell and give away my full government name so people can see. But for those of you who are here on the show in the know, go check that out. And yeah, it's got the full name on there because, if we got to raise money, we got to do something about it. So that's what we see coming off of that. Go check that out. GiveSendGo.com/TurnsOfPages101 to get started. Let's get into your finance for the morning now that we're actually finally getting started. The Dow was up throughout the day yesterday. Wow, why is all my text so big? We've got to change something here. Let's drop that back just a little bit so we can get more stuff up on the screen. My God, I looked over there and it's like, did I go into did I go into low visibility mode? Am I 70 years old and have to have this up? Let's actually jump that up just a touch more. That'll be perfect. That'll be fine. All right, let's get started looking at the Dow. The Dow, it started the day down. It dropped like a stone at the top, and then it kind of jumped back up and just continued clawing its way back throughout the day. A couple of little moves and shakes and moving it back down below the previous close line here, but winding up 103.61 points or 0.3%. to 34,921.88 on the close. So we will see what happens with that and where that goes. We'll also see where the futures are looking. I have not pre-read the IBD article today because it took them so long to come back and get it out here. Looking in at the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin took a big spike throughout the day yesterday. Kind of clawed its way through into the upswing throughout the day yesterday, and then just towards the end of the day shot up with some anticipation that it is going to go up even further and harder throughout the day and throughout the rest of this week here. So those of you who are holding Bitcoin right now, who have took Dr. Jorgensen's advice, and this is the only way to be an actual libertarian, is to sell all your fiat currency, all your US currency, and just put it all in the Bitcoin, congratulations. You might get a little bit of a piece of this, but once again, none of this is guaranteed, and we will see what happens with that as we go. Looking in at your scrap metal prices. Aluminum has turned itself back up, so now everything is on the upswing again. Looking at your individual plays, looks like copper is completely on the rise, including brass and brass shells. Steel is also completely on the rise, including conduit steel, iron, rotors, and complete cars. Aluminum is mixed. Aluminum siding is down, but it looks like all of your other plays are up for aluminum. Your individual plays, electric motors are up, ballast are up, lead is up. Batteries are up. Small foreign cat is up, but large foreign cat, regular domestic, large GM, and small GM cats are all down. Compressors are up. Alternators are up. Carbide is up. Hard drives are up. Motherboards are up. Power supplies are down, but low-grade boards have turned upwards, and PC towers are still down. So that's what we see coming in off our metal. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. From Investors Business Daily, Dow Futures, Apple retakes entry. Tesla eyes buy point, and Twitter soars on Musk stake. From Scott Latonin. Dow futures were lower Tuesday after Monday's tech-fueled stock market rally ahead of this week's heavily anticipated Fed minutes. Apple stock reclaimed a buy point, while Tesla made a bullish move after reporting record vehicle deliveries. Twitter stock soared after Tesla chief executive became the largest shareholder in the social media company. On Monday, the Dow climbed 0.3% and the S&P moved up 0.8%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite outperformed, rallying almost 2%. Among ETFs, the NASDAQ tracker Invesco QQQ Trust advanced 2.1%, and the SPDR S&P 500 ETF rose 0.9% on Monday. Tesla raced more than 5.5% higher on Monday after the company's announcement over the weekend. Twitter soared 27% after Tesla chief executive Elon Musk took a 9.2% stake in the social media company for $2.89 billion. One of the things to watch with this, and one of the things to actually pay attention to, is to see where SpaceX and Tesla go with Twitter. Because if Twitter, especially with a 9.2% stake in the company, if Twitter starts to jump, and it does seem to be that it's jumping, that's going to look, investors are going to look at this and say, hey, Elon has some money to now throw into SpaceX and Tesla. I want a piece of that shit, you know? Dow financial leader American Express, along with Arista Networks, Broadcom, IBD leaderboard stock Darling Ingredients, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, and Shell. Our Monday's top stocks to buy and watch. Elsewhere among the Dow leaders, Apple rallied 2.4% and Microsoft traded up 1.8% in today's stock market rally. American Express, a Dow Jones stock to watch, is approaching a buy point. Arista, Microsoft, and Tesla are on the IBD leaderboard. Darling Ingredients and Tesla were featured in this week's Stocks Near Buy Zone column. On the futures, before the open, futures on the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ were each down 0.2% versus fair value. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. The 10-year yield rose 2.41% on Monday. U.S. oil prices jumped more than 4% Monday, as West Texas Intermediate crude traded near $104 a barrel. Minutes from the Federal Reserve's March policy meeting are due out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time Wednesday. On March 16th, the Federal Reserve hiked its interest rate for the first time since 2018. Policymakers revealed their expectations for a total of 7 quarter-point rate hikes this year and at least 3 more in 2023, which will affect how your mortgages go. So we will see what's going on with that and where that goes, and we'll continue to watch and see how this happens. There's the archived version of the IBD story that we just read over there because I didn't know if it was going to be readable or not. They like to put that up there and say, please subscribe to sign in to read if you have to take it off the website, but that's what we see off of that. All right, let's see what MarketWatch has to say. This is an op-ed. Dow transports are in a ditch. Can the stock market and the economy be far behind? It was very funny when I saw this article and I had already put it up, but like right before I got started, I noticed that Biden had said, hey, you know what? We've added 35,000 new trucking jobs since I took the presidency. We're turning things around, man. Come on. And I looked at, I remember the begging and the pleading from trucking companies to get more people on. And I thought about that. And I replied back. I said, you didn't create more trucking jobs. They were already there. You had just regulated them out of the sector up until you found out that it was hurting your fucking bottom line on your presidency. Those 35,000 jobs were always there. But this is from Mark Halbert. By turning one of its worst daily losses in history, the Dow Transportation Average on April 1st can cast an ominous cloud over both the U.S. economy and the stock market. The Dow Transports tumbled almost 5% last Friday. That's huge. To put this loss into historical context, it was worse than 99.6% of all daily returns for this index. Back to its creation in the late 1800s, it's even rarer for this index to drop this much when the broad U.S. market is rising. The major culprit is the Dow Transport's plunge, where the price drops among the freight transportation companies that are part of the index. J.B. Hunt Transportation Services fell close to 10%. For example, Norfolk Southern Corp dropped almost 7%. These price declines are a bad omen because the freight transportation sector has been found to be a reliable leading economic indicator. Consider a study conducted several years ago by Bureau of Transportation Statistics within the U.S. Department of Transportation. The authors report that the Bureau's Freight Transportation Services Index leads slowdowns in the economy by an average of 4 months. To be sure, the FSI is not identical to Dow Transports. The FSI is only reported monthly, and with a significant time lag. The latest available reading, for example, is for January of this year. But because the FSI and the Dow Transports have been significantly correlated in the past, it's a good bet that the Dow Transports are just as good a leading indicator for the FSI. See the historical correlation between the two in the chart below. And this is, that's going to be something to watch here, especially with fuel being up. And not only that, but, I did point out to Biden with the slowdowns and the shutdowns and everything else, that they required pay to go up per mile for drivers, whether they be company drivers or owner-operators, getting much more pay coming back out of this, especially for the fuel cost. But even if you're not doing an owner-operator thing, your fuel cost on the company drivers is still going up massively. And what's driving the stocks, especially what we're looking at with the 5% drop, is the profit. So now, as a trucking company, you've got two choices. Either take the loss in your profit or gouge your customers more, which in turn turns around and puts that inflationary cycle back up onto the food. That's one of the aspects of the supply chain, is how much it costs to get something from point A to point B. And unfortunately, the companies that are going with option A are hurting because there are companies out there that are going out with option B. And especially in these trying times with inflation being at 8%, you're going to see a lot more companies, a lot more business leaders that are going out to take the companies that took option B. Just simple bottom line. The more they can sell to a customer, the better they can do. So the lower the cost that they're getting stuff in for, the lower they can sell it for. And it's a major spiral off of this here. And yet Jennifer Rubin still tells us that the economy is going great. There is nothing to worry about. So that's what we see coming off of finance. That's what we see going on with that. Let's get into the main news of the day. Let's see what's happening here. And we are going to start with the Daily Wire for the day. Drop this just a touch more. And talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson. So, first report today comes to us from John Rigolizzo over the Daily Wire. Activist to the core, Lindsey Graham explains why Ketanji Brown Jackson is the first SCOTUS nominee he won't vote for. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham on Monday explained why Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is the first Supreme Court nominee he won't vote for. The Judiciary Committee went on to cast an 11-11 vote along party lines in approving the nomination, adding a procedural step to advance her nomination to the full Senate. Speaking at the final hearing before the vote to advance her out of committee, Graham said that Judge Jackson's judicial philosophy and some of her judicial decisions were disqualifying and fired back at Democrats for emphasizing Jackson's race in the nomination procedure. "I'll vote no, sugar," Graham began. "First time I've ever voted against any Supreme Court nominee. Let me tell you how I got there." Graham pointed out that he did vote for Jackson's confirmation to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals because he expected a Democratic president to appoint a liberal judge to the federal courts, but said the Supreme Court is different from the Circuit Court. So it is playing politics, literally. "Now that you're talking about the Supreme Court, you're making policy, not just bound by it," he said. Which is part of the problem. You're not supposed to be making policy at the Supreme Court. You're supposed to be interpreting policy. You know whose job it is to make policy? Lindsey Graham. Graham also pointed out that Judge Jackson's nomination had a political moment. He expressed consentment with the decision to nominate a black woman to the court, saying it would make the court look more like America, but Graham claimed that Judge Jackson's nomination was embraced by the most radical people in the Democratic movement to the exclusion of everybody else. After 4 days of hearings, I know why the left likes her so much. It became obvious to me why she was their first and apparently only choice. That's where the quote started. She was their first and apparently only choice. A lot of what's going on with this is the fact that Lindsey Graham is butthurt over the fact that they didn't choose J. Michelle Childs. And not butthurt in the way that he's usually butthurt. Graham lamented the fact that Biden admin could have picked a more appealing candidate who was still liberal but could have gotten more Republican support, but decided to appease the far left instead. "So why am I voting no, sugar?" Graham continued. "On our side, we like judges to be bound by the written letter of the law." He then pointed to a decision made by Judge Jackson in a 2019 lawsuit against former President Trump's immigration policy. While the text of the law clearly favored Trump's admin, Jackson ruled for the plaintiff, who Graham noted were funded by left-wing dark money groups. The decision was subsequently overturned by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. Oh, so now Lindsey Graham likes Donald Trump? This is literally anything that he can do to stay in power. He is the worst kind of neocon, and I made that same accusation against Sarah Palin yesterday. But he is the worst kind of neocon. He will just say whatever it is and support whoever it takes to stay in power, to stay popular among his base, which his base in... why do I keep confusing South Carolina and North Carolina? And his base in South Carolina is going to go significantly for populism this time through. Now, he could go back and confirm her, which honestly it wouldn't have mattered. I said right from the beginning, because of the campaign ads that are going to come back out off of this, she should have, not even gone through the hearings. Just bring her down to a vote, give her 99-1, or 99-0 rather, because at the time that she first came down, the guy from New Mexico was still up for a stroke. He has since returned. But just get her up there, get her on there, so we don't have to sit back and listen to these campaign ads of Republicans like Lindsey Graham are so racist that they voted to deny a black woman a seat on the Supreme Court. Is this what you want out of this? Do you want racism running our country? Vote for generic Democrat name here. Because otherwise, the country will descend into racism. Okay, and we'll be talking a bit more about what's going on with us here, but I want to put this right off on the top and say Ketanji Brown Jackson was a dare. If you think that the Democrats that nominated Ketanji Brown Jackson didn't know about the fact that she had these child porn cases in her history, you are out of your mind. And also that they had the upper hand because a lot of the people that are on the same Judiciary Committee and also in the same Senate, because it is a boys' club that goes on forever and ever and ever. A lot of these people here voted for her to be the district court judge. Graham went on, because he was turned to the prospect of Jackson being the first black woman on the Supreme Court. That's true, sugar, and the reason that's true is because of what y'all did to Janice Rogers Brown, Graham said, pointing to Democrats' 2005 filibuster of Judge Brown at the D.C. Circuit because of her conservative views, and the scuttling of her nomination to the Supreme Court because of Democrats' threats to filibuster her again. You made it that way, sugar, Graham said, pointing to the Democratic side of the committee room, because you had a chance to support an African-American conservative. You used her ideology against her. You blocked her from being considered by this committee. And we're supposed to be like trained seals over here, clapping when you appoint a liberal. That's not going to work. We live in America today, baby, where your ideology is held against you if you're a conservative, and when you're a liberal, we're supposed to embrace everything about you and not ask hard questions. That's not the world we're going to live in, baby, Graham said. So yes, and of course the Janice Rogers Brown thing is, that's relevant to this. And it's relevant to it goes along the same lines as putting Kamala Harris in, putting Hillary Clinton in, and the relentless mocking of Sarah Palin when she was standing by somebody who was likely to die in office. See, Democrats, and this is one of their dirty little secrets, are terrified, beyond terrified, that Republicans are going to get some of these demographic wins. They are absolutely terrified of the idea that the first insert X demographic condition in here, purported to insert government official line here. They're so terrified of that they will block and smear anybody who isn't like that. They are terrified of that. So, but that's what we see coming out of Graham. And again, it's not the activism for me, because from everything that I looked through when I started looking through her record, I didn't really see a lot of activism. I saw the kiddie porn cases. I did see that, but I mean, given the current makeup of the Senate, I thought that was a foregone conclusion. There's no reason to come off and call this woman an activist, except for the fact that, you know, like I said, Lindsey Graham is butthurt over the fact that they didn't throw up J. Michelle Childs. Other than that, there's no reason behind any of this. And yet, here we sit. And yet, here we go. And again, I'm positive that she was a dare. They put somebody up with these little murky, cloudy things in her background that normally probably wouldn't even been brought up, and then somebody accidentally leaked that information out to right-wing media, where they started talking back about it and starting putting pressure on their senators to say, "Hey, question this woman about the fact that she's got child porn leniency in her background." Start questioning her as a dare to come back out and say, "Hey, oh, well, you want to vote against the first African American woman? Come on, do it. Please, I dare you." From the BBC, Supreme Court, Senate panel deadlocks on Ketanji Brown Jackson. A U.S. Senate panel has deadlocked in a vote to approve President Biden's nominee for the Supreme Court, but she's set to be confirmed anyway later this week. Judge Jackson would become the first black woman on the nation's highest judicial body. The 9-member court is currently split between 6 Republican-appointed justices and 3 picked by Democrats. Jackson would replace Stephen Breyer, another liberal justice. The Judiciary Committee, which, like the full chamber, is evenly split between Democrats and Republicans, voted 11-11 on Monday on whether to back her nomination. The final vote before the 100-member Senate is expected by Friday. On Monday evening, 2 Republican senators, Romney and Murkowski, declared support for Judge Jackson. With one other Republican, Senator Susan Collins of Maine, having already said she will vote for the nominee, Judge Jackson's confirmation is assured. Democrats point out Judge Jackson will become the first former public defender on the court and cite her experience in 9 years on the federal bench. But many Republicans found fault with her decision during 30 hours of confirmation not to comment on whether seats should be added to the Supreme Court and her remark that she could not define the term woman. They also accused her of leniency in child court cases. If confirmed, Jackson would be the first black woman justice named to the Supreme Court on its 233-year-old history. She would also be just the 3rd black American to ever sit on the country's top court, following Justices Thurgood Marshall and current Justice Clarence Thomas. So that is what we see coming off of that. Let's grab one from the Blaze. Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson writes, "I do not hold a position on whether individuals possess natural rights." From Alex Nitzberg. Well, see, the magic of that is you are taking an oath to uphold the Constitution, which has already made that determination for you. You don't have to have an opinion on that. You don't have to have a position on that. The document you are sworn to uphold in its original text already does that for you. Doesn't that make life easy? From Alex Nitzberg. Judge Jackson, who is almost certainly be confirmed to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, said that she does not have a position on whether people have natural rights. "I do not hold a position on whether individuals possess natural rights," the jurist wrote in response to a written question from Ted Cruz. Jackson pointed to the Declaration of Independence when she was asked to explain, in your words, the theory prevalent among members of the Founding Fathers' generation that humans possess natural rights or inherent or inalienable. Jackson wrote that the theory that humans possess inherent or inalienable rights is reflected in the Declaration of Independence, which states, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Regarding Jackson's lack of a position about the issue of whether individuals have natural rights, Mike Johnson of Louisiana tweeted, "Ketanji Brown Jackson denies the first self-evident truth of America." But again, when we're sitting here talking about the fact that she is sworn to uphold the Constitution, it's really not her position to hold that. It's not her position to come back out and say, "Oh yes, I believe that," or "No, I don't." The document you are swearing an oath to uphold has done that for you. Okay, now I do get that we're talking about the Declaration of Independence, not the Constitution. But remember that the Constitution, which she has sworn to uphold, has provided a check on the government because human beings have natural rights. It's part of the Bill of Rights. It's not the government granting them, it's the document preventing the government from making laws that go against them. But that's what we see coming off of that. Some more Lindsey Graham stuff. Lindsey Graham says Republicans wouldn't have given Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson a hearing if they controlled the Senate. Right. You know who else wouldn't have had a hearing if the off party had controlled the Senate? Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh. None of them would have had a hearing either. Is this your first time in Washington, D.C., Senator Graham? Lindsey Graham! South Carolina said Monday that Republicans would not have held hearings on Judge Jackson's nomination to the Supreme Court if they held a majority in the Senate. If we get back the Senate and we're in charge of this body, there's judicial openings. We will talk to our colleagues on the other side, Graham said at a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing for Jackson's nomination. Wow, I can talk this morning. But if we were in charge, he would not have been before this committee. He added, "You'd have had somebody more moderate than this." Oh, there's video. Hold on. Let's see if we can find this. This is 3:24 on April 4th of yesterday. More Ducey stuff. I mean, the recount is just a fun place that we can go back and find this kind of stuff. There it is, right there. Let's listen to Lindsey Graham.
If we get back the Senate and we're in charge of this body and there's judicial openings, we will talk to our colleagues on the other side. But if we're in charge, she would not have been before this committee. You would have had somebody more moderate than this. So I want you to know right now, the process you started to go to a simple majority vote is going to rear its head here pretty soon, where we're in charge. Then we'll talk about judges differently. If we get back...
Ladies and gentlemen, your Senate advertisement right there. Thank you, Lindsey Graham, for that. This clip right here is going to be plastered on every television from about May until about October. Just so you know. Mitt Romney got onto this one here. Mitt Romney has joined the liberal side of things because he is himself liberal to tell us that, yes, he is going to vote to confirm her. Romney tweets out, "I intend to vote in support of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation to be an Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Here's my statement. After reviewing Judge Jackson's record and testimony, I've concluded that she's a well-qualified jurist and a person of honor. And while I do not expect to agree with every decision she may make on the court, I believe she more than meets the standard of excellence and integrity. I congratulate Judge Jackson on her expected confirmation and look forward to her continued service of our nation." Which, I mean, Romney's not going to take the dare because he's probably pulled some large sum of money in a back room somewhere to come back and make this happen because he's Mitt Romney, and that's... I mean, he's just doing Mitt Romney things, is all that he's doing. He's another one where he's just doing whatever is going to hold him into as much power as he can hold. And he's loving this right now because, you know, he was Binders Full of Women. He was Demon Incarnate. He was the spawn of Satan in 2012. But now those people like him again. One from our friends over at NPR. 2 more Republicans say they'll vote to confirm Jackson's Supreme Court nomination. This comes from Eric McDaniel and Kelsey Snell. And remember, NPR needs our money, comrade, to make sure that they can tell you that you are supposed to support Ketanji Brown Jackson no matter what. So make sure you hit that donate button up there because they need our money, comrade. Never Printing Reality, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what it is that they have to say. Lisa Murkowski and Mitt Romney announced Monday evening that they'll vote to confirm Jackson's nomination at the Supreme Court. All 50 Senate Democrats, including 2 independents who caucus with them, are expected to vote for Jackson's confirmation. Collins, Romney, and Murkowski announced this week that they would vote for confirming Jackson, giving her more than enough support to be approved for a lifetime appointment on the nation's highest court. She will be the first black woman to serve on the Supreme Court if confirmed. What's funny about this is it was just a couple days ago that we heard the allegation that Republicans, the GQP, are in a cult because they always vote in lockstep. They're not allowed to step outside of lockstep. And yet here we are in the Senate with certain Republicans stepping outside of lockstep with the entire Democrat Party in a full wall of lockstep. The Judiciary Committee reached an 11-11 tie along party lines on Jackson's nomination earlier on Monday. Democrats were prepared for the deadlock, and the outcome will not prevent Jackson from being confirmed by the Senate. Top Democrats expect that vote will happen later this week ahead of planned recess for the Easter holiday. Democrats on the committee cited Jackson's judgment as the main reason for her support. No, that's not the main reason for her support. The main reason for support is that she was nominated by Joe Biden, and therefore they are required, by the rules of their caucus, to vote for her no matter what. She could have murdered somebody. She could have walked up during the line of questioning and murdered Lindsey Graham on the Senate floor. And Senate Democrats would have voted 50 in lockstep to confirm her. It has nothing to do with her judicial philosophy. It has to do with who she was nominated by. Writing that her credentials, experience, and even-handed approach to the admin of justice make her an outstanding nominee to the Supreme Court. So, yes, as mentioned in the chat, yes, she is probably going to be confirmed tomorrow. All right, from CNN. A little bit more review here. Supreme Court nominee Jackson expected to be confirmed this week after a bipartisan procedural vote on Monday. Let's listen to Murkowski. I'm sorry, but let's listen to Murkowski.
New this morning, GOP Senator Susan Collins of Maine says she will vote to confirm Judge
I apologize, that was Collins, not Murkowski.
Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. She's the first Republican to throw support behind President Biden's nominee, which now ensures Jackson's confirmation, which is virtually assured, but ensures that it would be bipartisan. CNN's Manu Raju joining me now from Capitol Hill. So Manu, Senator Collins met with Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for a second meeting yesterday.
I find it hilarious, by the way, that even CNN is having trouble pronouncing her name.
Is it the sense that it was that second meeting that secured her vote, or was it something else?
Yeah, and look, Collins has been signaling for some time that she was likely in the yes camp. She did meet with her initially before the hearings of last week. She was positive after that initial meeting. She said she had some additional questions, and which is why they met again. She also was one of 3 Republican senators who voted to confirm her to the lower court, the D.C. Circuit, in which she currently serves. That vote was just last year, and in a statement today, she said that the reason why she voted for her is not whether or not she agrees with her on every single decision. It's because of the experiences that she has. She said the role of the Constitution assigns to the Senate is to examine the qualifications, experience, and integrity of the nominee, not whether a senator agrees with every single position. Now, nevertheless, the Supreme Court process has become incredibly partisan over the last couple of decades, and the expectation here in the Senate is this could essentially come down very close to party lines. Only a handful of Senate Republicans are at play to potentially vote for Ketanji Brown Jackson, in addition to Collins, potentially Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Mitt Romney of Utah, who told me yesterday after meeting with her he still is examining her.
All right, I can't listen to these idiots anymore. But yes, it does look like that it's going to be 53-47 on the confirmation. And there might be more. There might be more that jump across, but we'll see. And the last one that we're going to do talking about... No, we've got 2 more. So the second to last one we're going to do talking about Jackson comes to us from the New York Post. Senate votes to advance Ketanji Brown Jackson's SCOTUS nomination after committee tie. The Senate voted 53-47 Monday night to advance Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination to the Supreme Court following an 11-11 tie in the Judiciary Committee after California Democrat Senator Alex Padilla's travel issues forced a dramatic delay. Collins, Murkowski, and Romney joined all 50 Democrats in voting to discharge Jackson's nomination to the Senate floor for a final vote later this week. Which, again, it doesn't look... I don't know why they're doing another vote off of this. Now, yes, this vote was able to get it out of committee because they deadlocked in committee, but now we're looking at this. Is this going to be the same? Are we also going to get another 53-47 vote? I don't know. but there we sit. But yes, Alex Padilla, his plane got delayed, and they had to delay this vote. From the Daily Wire, this one was hilarious. Dick Durbin says Republicans accuse Judge Jackson of vile things in front of her family. So, who were those people that were sitting right out in front during the Kavanaugh hearings, I wonder? As people were trying to hammer and bust down the Supreme Court doors. Dick Durbin claimed Monday that some members of the Republican Party had accused Judge Jackson of vile things during her recent hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Durbin, who chairs the committee, said that most Republican members had kept their promise not to turn the proceedings into a circus, but he claimed that they had not done so, and instead made ugly accusations in front of the judge's family. Are you fucking serious right now? Are you serious? Let's listen.
On the whole, my Republican colleagues, starting with my ranking member, Senator Grassley, treated the nominee with dignity and respect. They promised not to turn this confirmation process into a, quote, circus, and most kept that promise. Some, however, did not. Instead, they repeatedly interrupt and badgered Judge Jackson and accused her of vile things in front of her parents, her husband, and her children. There was table pounding, some literal, from a few of my colleagues. They repeated discredited claims about Judge Jackson's record. They impugned her motives and questioned her candor. One all but called her a liar. They even suggested that Judge Jackson, a mother to two wonderful daughters, quote, endangers children. Judge Jackson is a better person than me. She stayed calm and collected. She showed dignity, grace, and poise. It is unfortunate that some moments in our hearing came to that. But if there is one positive to take away from these attacks on her, it is that the nation saw the temperament of a good, strong person ready to serve on the highest court of the land.
A strong, empowered black woman is, I think, what he meant to say. A good, strong, empowered black woman ready to go serve on the committee chair. Because this is a diversity thing. Let's not mince words about what's happening here. But again, criticizing behavior from some GOP members, horrifying, horrible accusations in front of her husband and her children, saying she's a danger to children in front of her children. Tell me about the yearbook, Durbin. And also, this. Is this still not just a job interview? Quote, unquote. Again, I don't think any of this really has a lot to do with anything, except for the whataboutism off of this, which I know that Durbin is putting this up here because he wanted people like me to talk about the whataboutism. So for one of the very, very few moments of my life, I will entertain Dick Durbin and say, yes, what about the whataboutism? What about what you did to Judge Kavanaugh? What about what we saw during the Barrett hearings? What about any of that? You accused Amy Coney Barrett of trafficking colored children for her own nefarious means, and Brett Kavanaugh of outright rape in front of his children. And furthermore, as far as any of this goes, what happened with Barrett, what happened with Kavanaugh, what happened with Jackson, all of this should have been done behind closed doors. We should have been able to look in and have them ask the questions, find out what's actually in this record, and determine whether any of the three of them were eligible for the Supreme Court behind closed doors. But we don't do that because we need the floor show, because these people need to have their sound bites so they can go and run for the fucking presidency. Alright, but that's what we hear off of Jackson. I've got just a couple to talk about the Ukraine. Not a whole lot. So let's talk just a bit about what's happening over there. Zelensky to address the UN Security Council over atrocities discovered in Kiev suburbs. No author given, but this is from CBS. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky planned to speak Tuesday to UN Security Council diplomats outraged by growing evidence that Russian forces deliberately killed civilians, many of them shot in yards, streets, and homes, and their bodies left in the open. The Russian withdrawal from towns around the Ukraine's capital, Kiev, revealed the corpses, which led to calls for tougher sanctions against the Kremlin, especially a cutoff of gas and oil imports from Russia. Germany and France reacted by expelling dozens of Russian diplomats, suggesting they were spies. President Biden said Russian leader Vladimir Putin should be tried for war crimes. This guy's brutal! And what's happening in Bucha is outrageous, Mr. Biden said, referring to the town northwest of the capital that was the scene of some of the horrors. At the Pentagon, a senior defense official said the U.S. can't independently confirm atrocities in Bucha, but has no reason to refute them. Honk, honk. The official called the images deeply troubling. And there goes the ambulance. The discovery of bodies in Bucha was expected to be front and center at the Security Council session, said Barbara Woodward, the UN ambassador to the UK, which holds the Council presidency. Zelensky planned to address the most powerful UN body on Tuesday from Ukraine after it receives briefings from the Security General Antonio Guterres, his political chief Rosemary DiCarlo, and UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths. Who is trying to arrange a ceasefire. Griffiths met with Russian officials in Moscow on Monday and is due to visit the Ukraine again. This appears that this is going to be another plea to get NATO involved, and I answered a couple of those this morning over on Twitter too. You know, it comes with some of these people who are out there that show the picture of Zelensky in tears. Never mind the fact that up until this year, they had really no idea who Zelensky was and couldn't find Ukraine on the map. But now they've always been in support of Zelensky, and why couldn't he be in NATO? And all these people need to go first. I'm sorry, that's the thing. All these people need to go first. Anybody who's calling for war over in the Ukraine needs to go first. So that's what we're seeing off of this, and I cannot confirm whether these were Russian atrocities, whether these are dead Russian soldiers out there that have been redressed up, because there does appear to be a very successful pushback from the Ukrainian military forces and militias. But hey, how easy would it be, especially given the fact that ethnically, these two groups of people look very similar to each other, to start pulling patches and clothes off some of these corpses and throw some off of it? It's not that I'm saying that it's not happening. I know that there are a lot of people out there that are saying that it's not happening, and this is all just pro-Putin propaganda. I'm just saying I have questions. And there does seem to be an end that is anticipated off of this, of NATO and the U.S. getting involved in the Ukraine. And there do seem to be powers and forces that are trying to push that as hard as they can. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm saying I have questions. But even saying you have questions right now, well, it's Putin propaganda. You're pro-Putin if you have questions. So that's what we see off of that. From the Associated Press, Russia faces global outrage over bodies in Ukraine's street. Moscow faced global revulsion and accusations of war crimes Monday after the Russian pullout from the outskirts of Kiev revealed streets, buildings, and yards strewn with corpses of what appear to be civilians, many of them evidently killed at close range. The grisly images of battered, burned bodies left out in the open or hastily buried led to calls for tougher sanctions against the Kremlin, especially a cutoff of fuel imports from Russia. Germany and France reacted by expelling dozens of Russian diplomats, suggesting they were spies. And U.S. President Biden said Russian leader Vladimir Putin should be tried for war crimes. This guy's brutal, man! Come on! And what's happening in Bucha is outrageous, Biden said, referring to the town northwest of the capital that was the scene of some of the horrors. Volodymyr Zelensky left the capital, Kiev, for his first reported trip since the war began nearly 6 weeks ago to see for himself what he called the genocide and war crimes in Bucha. In his nightly video address, Zelensky pledged that Ukraine would work with the European Union and the International Criminal Court to identify Russian fighters involved in any atrocities. The time will come when every Russian will learn the whole truth about who among their fellow citizens is killed, who gave the orders, who turned a blind eye to the murders, he said. Sergei Lavrov dismissed the scenes outside of Kiev as a stage-managed anti-Russian provocation. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that the image contained signs of video forgery and various fakes. Which again, I'm not going to come out and say that these were fabrications, that this is propaganda or anything. I'm just saying I have questions. Up until this conflict broke out, it wasn't a crime to ask questions. Actually, no, it kind of was under the Iraq thing too, wasn't it? I suppose I was pretty young at the time. Yeah, it might have been a crime to ask questions then. Ukrainian officials said the bodies of at least 410 civilians have been found in towns around Kiev that were recaptured from Russian forces in recent days. The Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office described one room discovered in Bucha as a torture chamber. In a statement, it said the bodies of 5 men with their hands bound were found in the basement of a children's sanatorium where civilians were tortured and killed. So, that's what the mainstream media wants you to know about this. Again, remember, you're not allowed to ask questions because otherwise you are spreading pro-Putin propaganda. So do keep that in mind as you start to look into what's happening here. Let's grab one from The Hill. Pentagon to send 10 Switchblade drones, other equipment to Ukraine, according to a report. From Rachel Scully. The Pentagon will send a second batch of arms to Ukraine as the country enters its second month under Russian invasion. The U.S. will send a variety of equipment to aid Ukrainian defense, including 10 of the Switchblade drones, which are armed with tank-busting warheads, according to multiple reports. We're going to continue, that's John Kirby, we're going to continue to support Ukraine's ability to defend itself. We're going to do that as much as we can and as fast as we can, Pentagon Press Secretary John F. Kirby said at a news conference on Monday. The Switchblade is a small drone weighing less than 5 pounds and mounted with a small explosive warhead. According to Forbes, they are designed to attack personnel and light vehicles, can fly about 6 miles and hover over a target for about 15 minutes. Once they are launched, however, they cannot be recalled. I don't recall. The equipment is part of a $300 million in lethal military assistance announced by the Pentagon last Friday that also includes tactical secure communication systems, non-standard machine guns, and other defense systems. And those $300 million, that's all your money. Just a reminder. The aid comes after the Biden admin announced that it would provide $800 million in new assistance for Ukraine last month. The aid provided 800 anti-aircraft systems, 9,000 anti-armor systems, 7,000 small arms such as machine guns and shotguns, and a total of 20 million rounds, including artillery and mortar. Hey, I pay taxes. Can I have some of that? And of course, The Hill's removed its comment section. So go discuss this on Twitter. I promise that if you give me all this stuff, I'll use it to defend our country. I promise, as long as I stay in this country. I'll go to the border if you want me to. If you'll give me the Switchblade drones, and the armaments, and the ammunition. But see, I don't think the government would like that very much. Alright, let's grab an op-ed from CNN for you guys. This. The irony in this headline. Oh my god, I forgot that I put this up here. The irony in this headline. I can't even believe somebody at CNN looked at this and said, "Oh yeah, we'll publish this. Oh yeah, no, this is perfect." Opinion. Putin knows that controlling history is the key to total power. From CNN, of all places to put this article up here. Are you kidding me? Christina Floria is an assistant professor of history at Cornell University, whose research, writing, and teaching focus on Central and Eastern Europe. The views expressed here are her own. Read more opinion on CNN. And yet, they felt fit to publish this. I can't believe that this made it past the editorial board. From CNN, like in previous wars, Russia's assault on Ukraine is an attack, not only on the living, but also on the dead, whose traces are in the historical record, risk being completely erased if evidence of the past, including iconic physical structures, archives, and documents are destroyed, whether intentionally or accidentally. The toll being taken in Ukraine as lost lives and destroyed worlds is unimaginable. The idea that these same people may be losing irreplaceable parts of their history only compounds this unfathomable tragedy. As a historian, my research and writing rely on previous generations' efforts to record their present and preserve relics of their past. That any historical records have survived Eastern Europe's long history of turmoil is nothing short of a miracle. Archives, like people in the region, have been repeatedly displaced and destroyed. Russia's current war in Ukraine is yet another instance of its long history of invasions and conquests. Archival destruction in the current war in Ukraine is especially painful to contemplate. Given the difficult history these records have already endured, consider documents pertaining to the Great Famine of 1932 and 1933. I can't believe that CNN allowed that to get published. That's the Holodomor. You know, the thing that they don't teach you about in school? Because they're controlling the history to make you believe that the Nazis are the most evil human beings on the face of the planet? Stored in the Ukrainian state archives in Kiev, which has survived both Stalin's repressive regime and damage during the Nazi encirclement of the city during the First Battle of Kiev in 1941. If the city comes into Russian hands, Gone will be the only place across the former Soviet Union where researchers could freely access the records of the Soviet Special Services. At risk are also relics of the past, such as the splendid St. Sophia Cathedral in Kiev, found in the 11th century at the dawn of the medieval Principality of Kiev and Rus, to which both Ukraine and Russia have since traced their origins. How did CNN's editorial board let this get out of here with that word in it? That blows my mind. Holy fuck. I can't believe that. But again, an op-ed that says, basically those who control history control the world. That they're the ones that are saying this. That's... Hi, CNN. Meet self-awareness. Wow. I am stunned. You know what? I'm going to send this to Katie right now because she needs this. She needs this entertainment in the morning, and I don't know if she's watching or not. I am going to stop what I'm doing and send this to Katie right now. I can't believe that CNN was able to put that up and get it past the... Wow. All right, let's move on from that. Actually, we're going to move that. We're going to switch these two around. From Fox News, Ron Klain solicited money from Hunter Biden for VP residence in 2012. Emails show. Keep this low key. From Cameron Cawthorn. Yeah, guys, it's a big club and you're not in it. From Cameron Cawthorn and Joe Schaafstall. President Biden's White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, reached out to Hunter Biden on September 2012 for help in raising $20,000 for the Vice President's Residence Foundation, telling him to keep this low key to prevent bad PR, according to emails reviewed by Fox News Digital. Klain, who had left his Chief of Staff position in then Vice President Biden's office a year earlier, but was the foundation's chairman at the time of the emails, told Hunter that he needed to tackle a piece of unpleasant business and needed Hunter's help. The Vice President's Residence Foundation is a nonprofit entity used to assist in preserving and furnishing the Vice President's official residence located on the U.S. Naval Observatory grounds. The tax lawyers for the VP Residence Foundation have concluded that since the Cheney folks last raised money in 2007 and not 2008, we actually have to have some incoming funds before the end of this fiscal year to remain eligible to be a public charity, Klain said in an email to Hunter. Let's actually read this because according to the tweet that had this in here, and I can blow up the picture from here, Charlie Spearing says, Ron Klain's email to Hunter Biden reads like a bad internet scam. Ron Klain, VP Residence, to, and they blinked out the address. Hunter, hope you guys are doing well and that Naomi is off to a good start at college. It's such a change in the house when one leaves. Hey, I have to tackle a piece of unpleasant business. The tax lawyers for the VP Residence have concluded that since the Cheney folks last raised money in 07 and not 08, we actually have to have some incoming funds before the end of this fiscal year, before 9/30/12 next week, to remain eligible for be a public charity. It's not much, but we need to raise a total of $20,000, so I'm hitting up a few very close friends. Wow, this does read like a bad internet scam. Holy shit. On a very confidential basis to write checks of $2,000 each. We need to keep this low key because raising money for the residents is now bad PR. But it has to be done. I'm just trying to collect the 10 checks of two. Wow. Is Ron Klain a Nigerian prince? Get it done in a week, and then we can do an event for the Residence Foundation after the election. Is this okay? Let me know. If so, send your check payable to the Vice President's Residence Foundation to VPRF, and then a blanked out set of, I believe, address. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, Matthew Sablin over here says, please send the $2,000 in iTunes gift cards. And I don't think this is actually a major, as big of a scandal as they're saying is. For me, this is more funny than anything. This is more entertainment. This is more stupidity than anything. Like you're going out and grubbing around for the Vice President's son to go buy daddy his place in his not-for-profit system in the house that he's lived in for the U.S. government, or because of the U.S. government. I don't think this reeks of corruption, except for the fact that there might be a mismanagement of money somewhere. That's something we can look into, but for the most part, this is sad. This is sad. That's it. Just sad. From the New York Post. Biden opens the Title 42 gates. Prepare for madness. This is also... I have a lot of op-eds today. Biden opens the Title 42 gates. Prepare for madness. This is from Miranda Devine. As if the border crisis isn't damaging enough, with 2.5 million illegal immigrants having crossed into the U.S. since Biden took office, now the admin is going to make it exponentially worse by unwinding the last Trump-era restriction. The Title 42 policy implemented by the Trump admin during the pandemic to allow border officials to quickly expel migrants on public health grounds will be terminated next month, the CDC announced on Friday. So, just knowing this, what I see here, I'm actually okay with this. But I also say that we should be implementing new laws to make sure that this gets done the proper way instead. That the expulsions happen under the normal grounds instead of just going through Title 42 because of a CDC emergency. I would rather have it done legislatively than through an executive action. And plus, I mean, the pinko pox is fucking over. And as long as these relics are still there, we have a hard time explaining to people that, yes, this is actually over. Title 42 was the last tool border officials had to stem the flow of illegal immigration from more than 150 countries across the southern border. Now they are anticipating doubling or tripling the numbers to as many as 18,000 a day. No, you still have the tools. Pick them up and toss them back across. We know what that means. More secret migrant flights spanning out from the southern border to a town near you. Already charter flights to White Plains Airport in Westchester have started again after a hiatus following the Post report last October revealing migrant planes landing in the middle of the night several times a week and unloading hundreds of migrants, claimed to be children, to be spirited away on buses to locations around New York and neighboring states. A World Atlantic Airways plane thought to be bringing illegal migrants from El Paso to via Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, landed at White Plains Airport at 11:13 p.m. on Sunday. Unlike when the Post observed migrant flights last October, this plane was hidden on the far side of the tarmac outside of Ross Aviation East after it landed, so it was not possible to see passengers alighting. And again, I've got a feeling that Miranda Devine doesn't have all the story, the entire story here. But one to look at with this and one to see here is, I mean, and I know the Biden admin is not going to do this, but actually do something. Make a decision. Tell Congress to make a law. Don't depend on more bureaucracy to go and do stuff that you should have been doing the entire fucking time. But look for consistency among Democrats also. From Fox News, Republican states sue to stop Biden admin's lifting of Title 42 border policy. Oh, well, we have a coronavirus restriction, but this one benefits us, so we're going to sue to keep it in place. And we're going to say every other one is bad. From Adam Shaw. 3 Republican states on Monday announced that they have filed a lawsuit to stop the Biden admin's lifting of Title 42 public health order that's been used to expel a majority of migrants at the southern border, arguing that it was done unlawfully and will have a devastating impact on the states. The AGs of Arizona, Louisiana, and Missouri are suing over the move to end Title 42, which was implemented by the Trump admin in March of 2020 in response to the pinko fucking pox pandemic, and allows for rapid expulsion of migrants at the border on May 23rd. This suit challenges an imminent, man-made self-inflicted calamity, this abrupt elimination of the only safety valve preventing this admin's disastrous border policies from devolving into an unmitigated catastrophe, the complaint said. Yes, and you need to remember this in November. If we want to stop the Biden admin from rescinding Title 42 because it may be one of the most boneheaded decisions of this admin, and they have done a lot of dumb things, Arizona AG Mark Brnovich said on Monday morning on Fox and Friends, "I'm doing everything I can to hold the Biden admin accountable and stop them from destroying the southern border." And once again, it's time to go back and look at this and say, yeah, you know what? Let's make sure that we have the people in the seats in Washington. If this is going to be such a big deal that we're going to complain about this, let's get the people in the seats in Washington that will make the law that we can do this without having the administrative, the bureaucratic state getting involved in this, the executive branch getting involved in this. Well, except the executive branch is the one that controls enforcement, obviously, but the Biden admin announced Friday that it will be terminating the order despite fears of a massive migrant wave in the coming months. In February, 55% of the more than 164,000 migrants encountered at the border were expelled under the order. And those are just the ones that were encountered, not the ones that got passed. So that's something that's drawing eyes everywhere here. From the Daily Wire, officials bracing for 18,000 migrants per day if Title 42 is rescinded. Republicans slam Biden admin for national security threats. House Republicans, led by Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, held a press conference on Monday, blasting Biden's handling of the southern border and warned that the situation would get worse after Title 42, the public health-related immigration provision that allows expedited deportation for migrants who enter the country, is set to officially end on May 23rd. Republican members of Congress told reporters Monday evening that the immigration crisis at the border is already a national security issue, and that is emboldening transnational drug cartels while making every county a border county. McCarthy also revealed that when he and a group of GOP colleagues previously visited the border, illegal aliens told them they were coming across precisely because of President Biden's words. Many Republicans, including McCarthy, blamed the deluge of illegal aliens on Biden directly, in part for undoing border measures instituted by former President Trump. During a Q&A, McCarthy explained that border crisis goes down to the foundation of your nation, it goes down to the security of your nation, it goes down to the human trafficking, it goes down to the fentanyl. There's so many elements to hear. And you listen to a president, and he wants a secure border, so much that he put his vice president in charge, who's only been to it one time, and not even to the border, by the way. And the closest I've ever found that he came to the southern border was in a car driving by El Paso. McCarthy continued. So yeah, and I mean, if they don't have the fear of getting expelled, they're going to come here, but again, it's time to put the COVID-19 narrative to bed, so it's time to put people in there that'll hold the admin to the fire and say, hey, fix this, or we will ensure that none of the rest of your agenda passes. From the Hill. Democrats fractured on response to the end of Title 42. From Rafael Bernal and Rebecca Beach. The Biden admin's decision to end Title 42, a Trump-era policy restricting asylum claims, garnered a fractured response from Democrat lawmakers, advocates, and the admin itself. Progressives and immigration advocates lauded the decision, arguing it was long overdue after President Biden pledged to end the rule during his 2020 campaign. However, moderate Senate Democrats issued a rebuke of the recession, claiming that the admin is not ready to manage a surge of migrants they say will come once the House rule is nixed. The admin rescinded the rule on Friday. The admin officials distanced themselves politically from the decision, which they said was motivated by public health concerns. Under Title 42, which is slated to end on May 23rd, migrants at the border were summarily expelled from the country rather than being processed under regular immigration rules and allowed to exercise their right to claim asylum. The Biden admin used Title 42 around 1.7 million times, sometimes returning individuals back to the top of the article. Oh shit, it's not going to kick me back to the top. Sometimes returning individuals back to Mexico on the same day, sometimes taking weeks to repatriate men, women, and children to dangerous conditions in Haiti. While some Democrats openly celebrated the admin's decision and called it a win, top Biden admin officials adopted a much more somber tone, warning the move could trigger an influx of migrants. And honestly, once you trigger an influx of migrants, you are going to trigger an influx of pissed off former Democrat, now Republican workers, blue-collar workers, who will all be out saying, "They took our jobs!" And put a lot of them at the ballot box too, by the way. And really, honestly, after the rhetoric that's come out of the Democrat Party, especially out of the Biden admin, it's not that I think that a lot of these people care about the influx of migrants that are on the Democrat side that are fractured. I think it's that they're worried about their midterm prospects. I really do. Especially in the moderate wing, because a lot of them are coming out there with their big donor class, big Mrs. Buddies. The progressives have some of this too, but it's mostly the business Dems who are looking at this and saying, okay, well, we're going to raise minimum wage and price a lot of your workforce out of the workforce. But don't worry, we'll keep you coming with this steady supply of workers that can't complain about anything that you can pay sub-minimum wage wages. You can pay them 50 cents an hour for all I care. And they can't complain about anything, so, you know. But that's what we see coming out of Title 42. Well, we're almost done here, and then we'll do Twitter trending and head out of here for the day. From CBS 2 KUTV. Tulsi Gabbard diverges from party, defends Florida parental rights bill. From Alex Schemmel. Former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard defended Florida's parental rights and education law Monday, diverging from her party's typical talking points. You may have seen the news recently, or you may be a parent who's experienced how parental rights are under attack all across the country as the government tries to usurp parents' rights and responsibility to raise their own children, Gabbard said in a video posted on Twitter. Oh, it's right there. Hey, let's listen to Tulsi rather than my Tulsi impression.
You may have seen in the news recently, or you may be a parent who's experienced how parental rights are under attack all across the country as the government tries to usurp parents' rights and responsibility to raise their own children. Now, we should all support the parental rights and education bill that recently passed in Florida, which very simply bans government and government schools from indoctrinating woke sexual values in our schools to a captive audience that is by law required to attend. But as I read the legislation, I got to tell you, I was shocked to learn that it only protects kids from kindergarten to third grade. Third grade? What about 12th grade? Or not at all? Now, government has no place in our personal lives. Government has no place in our bedrooms. Parents are the ones responsible for raising their kids and instilling in them a moral foundation, not the government. Now, the reality that we're facing in this country is our schools are failing. Nationally, 34% of students are below basic reading level in the fourth grade. 25% of high school graduates are functionally illiterate. Now, I'm confident that if our schools focused on educating our kids, teaching them the fundamentals, things like English, math, science, civics, history, we would see our literacy rates improve and set our young people up for success. They'll be thinking logically, thinking critically, and thinking for themselves. This is what our public schools should focus on.
I'm blown away that she didn't get the presidential nomination. With a speech like that? No, never mind. If you want to get the Democratic nomination, you have to go on and make a Twitter video and just say, gay, 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 gay. But I mean, she's absolutely right. Unless it is coming from a straight-out biological segment off of things, there's really no reason to talk about some of the stuff that allegedly is being talked about. And, there's no reason to push on the rapid onset gender dysphoria. But that's what we see coming out of that. We're going to hold off on this because this seems to be the same thing as what was said here. Let's grab one from The Blaze. In a Snow White reference, WAPO cartoonist depicts Florida Governor Ron DeSantis holding a basket of poison apples as the bodies of children lay on the ground. From Alex Schnitzberg. Read more! In a reference to the classic story Snow White, Washington Post political cartoonist Michael DeAdder depicted Florida Governor Ron DeSantis holding a basket of poison apples as the bodies of 3 children who apparently ate the tainted fruit lay on the ground. The basket is labeled "Don't Say Gay," and a shirt on one of the children reads "Trans Kids." Oh, I get it, because he's killing trans kids. I'm protecting Florida's children from you, the DeSantis figure says of Snow White and Mickey Mouse. Oh, fuck you. Oh, and we get to see the drawing, too. How cute! Snow White did not die from eating the apple. She fell into a coma. It was in the movie. So if she didn't die from eating the apple, those kids are not dead. People have lost their minds, DeAdder wrote in a now-deleted post. When someone asked DeAdder why he had deleted the post, the cartoonist replied, "I stand by it." The morbid cartoon comes as leftists rail against the parental rights and education bill that the Sunshine State governor signed last week. One of the provisions of the measure prohibits teaching students in kindergarten through third grade about sexual orientation and gender identity. Classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not appropriate, age-appropriate, or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards, the text states. The Disney company issued a statement last week declaring it will push for the legislation to be spiked in court or repealed by the state's legislature. Why do I have no music anymore? What the shit? Did we just get bumped off? My Chrome is acting up. There it goes. Now it's back! So this is another one. This is gonna be fought all the way up until election time. Like, this is not going away, and we're gonna see this up until literally the day of the midterms, because they need to have Nikki Fried, who can't even win in her primary, be the next governor of Florida. So we'll watch this and we'll see where that goes. From Forsyth County News, in relation to the Parental Rights and Education Bill, Forsyth County News announces Parents' Bill of Rights clears General Assembly. From Dave Williams, Capitol Beat News Service. One controversial education bill introduced to the General Assembly on behalf of Governor Kemp gained final passage in the General Assembly Friday, while another cleared the Georgia Senate. The Senate's Republican majority passed the Parents' Bill of Rights, 31-22 along party lines, and sent it to Kemp's desk for a signature. The State House of Representatives, in another party line vote, had passed the bill earlier last month. The measure gives the parents the right to review curriculum and other instructional material for the children's classes during the first 2 weeks of every 9-week grading period. Principals or superintendents who have received a request for information from a parent will have 3 business days to provide it. If the principal or superintendent is unable to share the information within that time frame, they must provide the parent a written description of the material and a timeline for its delivery, not to exceed 30 days. Parents who disagree with the local school's decision on a request can appeal to the school district and beyond that to the State Board of Education. Parents will also have the choice of opting their children out of sex education instruction and to prohibit videos or photos of their children unless necessary for public safety. The second bill, the so-called divisive concepts legislation, also passed the Senate 32-21 Friday along party lines because of changes the Senate made to the measure, which originated in the House. It must return to the chamber to win final passage. The legislation lists 9 concepts Georgia teachers could not teach their students, including that the U.S. and Georgia are systemically racist, and that no race is inherently superior or inferior to other. So, CRT. We can teach U.S. history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, without dividing along racial lines, said Senate President pro tempore Butch Miller of Gainesville. We must teach that America is good, not perfect, but good. We got a few things to fix. I would not want to be anywhere else, but we got a few things to fix, too. Before I would say good. Legislative Democrats who have opposed the bill, both bills throughout the weeks have moved through the General Assembly, didn't speak out against them on Friday. But the Democrat Party of Georgia released a statement characterizing Kemp's education agenda as an attack on students and teachers in Georgia. Because of course they did. Because Republicans are sitting in a position where they might actually win on education, which is something that has not happened in my lifetime before Virginia this past year. Democrats have had a comfortable majority on education for all 38 years that I've been alive, and this threatens that. And I'm here to watch it. I don't have any skin in the game. I don't have any kids in the education system, but I do want to see where this goes. Because I know that parents are the first front line in what education should be. Brian Kemp's plan is to ban kids from learning a complete and accurate history of our country. Democrat spokesman Max Pflugrath said on Friday, the decision about what our kids learn in school should be decided by teachers and parents, not politicians like Brian Kemp. Well, see, from the sounds of it, looking at the fact that this is giving parents a Bill of Rights, that this decision is going to be made by parents. But from what I have seen from teachers union teachers, they don't like that idea either. All right. What else do we have? We got just a couple more here. From Fox Business, Disney shareholder tells CEO Chapek to stop wasting money on political crusades. From Marissa Schultz and Andrew Murray. A Disney shareholder is speaking out against the company's involvement in Florida politics by actively opposing the Republican-led Parental Rights and Education bill championed by Ron DeSantis. Ray Keating, an economist and editor at DisneyBizJournal.com, said, when companies dive into politics, it rarely turns out, and well. Here's a suggestion for Disney CEO Bob Chapek. Get back to business, that is, excelling in storytelling, and stop wasting shareholders' money on political crusades that have nothing to do with Disney's business. Keating told Fox News Digital. We have the right to have our voices heard on issues, but not on shareholders' dime. DeSantis signed the legislation into law this week that bars instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade. Critics have depicted the bill as hurtful to LGBT inclusiveness and dubbed it the Don't Say Gay bill, in spite of the fact that it doesn't say anything about not saying gay. Under pressure from LGBTQ activists and progressive employees, some of whom have walked out of the job in protest, Disney's Chapek eventually criticized the Florida legislation, paused all political giving in Florida, and apologized to employees. You needed me to be a stronger ally in the fight for equal rights, and I let you down, Chapek said in a statement on March 11th. I am sorry. Well, Chapek, you are a moron. Now, this does go along the lines of shut up and dribble. I will give it that. There are aspects of this that go right along that line that people talk about and criticize for. You know, they criticized Megyn Kelly for telling LeBron to shut up and dribble. And this is same lines, but this is also a shareholder, somebody who is paying Disney, essentially, investing in the company, saying that, you know, raise your business. Don't try to compete against the government that controls your taxes. Otherwise, we're going to go all pull our money back out of this. It is a fine line, but there is a difference. And the last one that we'll do today, just because it's funny, because it's Jennifer Rubin. From The Blaze, Jennifer Rubin is getting hammered on social media for saying Biden's economy is great if you ignore inflation. From Carlos Garcia. WAPO columnist Jennifer Rubin was hammered on social media for giving defense of the economy under President Brandon in her newest column. It was actually kind of funny. I read some of the responses to this, and I enjoyed them. Rubin argued in her column that if inflation was not a factor, that Biden's economic performance would be unmatched. Yes, all the jobs that were there throughout the entire Pinko Box pandemic, being able to be filled because you started pulling people's benefits away from them, that's definitely a winning economic strategy, isn't it? Especially among progressives. She touted the latest jobs reports while admitting that high inflation had eaten into the gains made in Americans' wages. Rubin went on to blame inflation on the pandemic, the actions of the Federal Reserve, and finally blamed high gas prices on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Critics of the Biden admin took to Twitter to excoriate Rubin for the nonsensical economic defense. And we can actually, if we need to, can go see all the tweets, because they provided links to them. But we'll read from the Blaze. As long as they've got the receipts, I don't have a problem reading from there. I know I've said that before where, they put this, they print out the statements in the Blaze, and then, you can't verify them, but they do put receipts. They have links over here. This article is incoherent. Much of Biden's extraordinary economic accomplishments, like rising nominal wages, are just side effects of rising prices. You cannot divorce the two and act like inflation is some sort separate branch that can be cut off while keeping all the good stuff, argued Brian Reidel of the Manhattan Institute. If the economy weren't doing badly, it would be good, Area Woman says, replied commentator Drew Holden. Others used the same formulation Rubin used to mock her claim that Biden was doing a great job despite inflation. If it weren't for the cost, I could afford to fly private, joked Charles C.W. Cook of the National Review. If it weren't for IQ points, you would be Einstein, replied Ben Shapiro. Okay, gang, if it weren't for IQ points, you'd be Einstein. If it weren't for the assassination of her husband, Mary Todd Lincoln would have enjoyed the play, joked Andrew Follett of the Club for Growth. There were a lot of those about Lincoln with that one. I know, isn't that your favorite politician, Lincoln? If it weren't for my lack of a medical degree, my surgical skills would be unmatched, mocked Noah Bloom. Opinion by cheating husband. If it weren't for my ongoing affair, my marriage would be really on solid ground, read another mocking tweet. Disastrous polling and other indicators point to a catastrophe outcome for Democrats in the upcoming November midterms. Over high inflation, increasing gas prices, and embarrassing missteps by the Brandon admin, some on the far left, like socialist Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez of Twitch, blamed the polling on Biden not pushing for progressive policies. Man, if it wasn't for all the money that it costs, I'd be living in that McMansion around the corner. Alright, and with that, we're going to head out of here. We're going to do Twitter trending and see what's going on in the world here today. Should be a good one, because I pulled a lot of today's show out of Twitter trending. So let's see what's going on here. We will read the top 5 trends, and we will skip the Tuesday vibes. Alright. So we will skip number 1 because it's Tuesday vibe, and number 2 is Quordle. Daily Quordle 71. People attempt to guess 4 or 5-letter words at once in Quordle, which is a take on the viral brain teaser Wordle. Let's look. Daily Quordle 71 7653 Quordle.com 7386 4857. So apparently this is, if this isn't the New York Times, I might go and play this. But I bet you Arvold will go play this. Arvold, are you going to play Quordle now? If it's not New York Times, of course. I don't quite understand Wordle, but, I've never played it either. And by the time it started coming out to me, it was the New York Times propaganda, so I didn't feel the need to support it. Next one is Elon. Apparently, Elon has joined the board of directors after taking 9.2% stock. So yes, he is going to be making decisions. The New York Post Twitter users urge Elon Musk to reinstate Donald Trump's account. Do it. Please. Because that's going to make Twitter suddenly an entertaining place again. Instead of all the rage and all the hate. Pomp says, wow, Elon Musk was just officially named to the Twitter board of directors. Oh, God, this is going to be hilarious. I don't really even care what happens here. I'm just here for the laughs at this point. Jack Posobiec says, every Twitter employee's job is now to help Elon Musk make more money. Oh, my God. This... Are you ready to watch some entertainment? Because... Larry Elder says, are you going to pressure management to shut down Hillary Clinton's Twitter account since, without evidence, she called the 2016 election stolen, and for 4 years she called President Trump illegitimate? Hope not, it wouldn't be right. Hashtag the big lie. That's a good one. I like that. Of course we know, however, that the 2016 election was definitely stolen, but the 2020 was the most secure election in history. And if the midterms don't go the Democrats' way, then the midterms were stolen as well, possibly by Russia. Tuesday Motivations is skipped. First Contact Day. First Contact Day, Star Trek fans celebrate April 5th, 2063, when Zefram Cochrane will launch Earth's first warp-capable rocket, and when humans meet Vulcans in the movie. Which they have shifted that too, by the way. Like, in original canon, I think it was like 2015 or 2020. I don't even think it was that late. I think it was like 2005 when the first warp flight took place. But, you know, when they came out and did First Contact in the late 90s, now we're sitting here with a question of, okay, when was First Contact? Which is the movie they're talking about. It was always April 5th, yes, but... 96, I thought it was later than that. So, in 1996, when 2005 was right around the corner, then we have to start sitting here having the conversation of, okay, now what do we do? Because there's no way that there's going to be warp by this point. And the other question is if Trek continues to be a franchise, and we get close to 2063, and there is absolutely no chance of seeing warp capability, are we going to do this? Or are we just going to keep making social and political commentary? I guess, oddly enough, and I haven't seen the second season, I liked the first season of Picard. I know, it's blasphemy against my Trek fans. But I liked Picard the first season, but I guess they're going back in time now to 2024 to stop a tragic event from happening that will change the course of human history. Gee, I wonder what that's going to be. I don't know, I don't want to watch it until the entire season is out. Alright, let's keep going. Number 4 is Greg Bird. Greg Bird has been released from the Blue Jays after exercising an option in his contract. Brian Nicholson Smith reports. The Yankees have signed first base Greg Bird to a minor league contract. Bird opted out of his minor league deal with Toronto to re-sign with the Yankees and will report to AAA. Greg Bird is back, so yeah, I guess he is going to be a Yankee, which means for me, even though I haven't really paid attention to baseball in the last couple of years because they got woke, because of the region of the country that I lived in when I first started learning about baseball, he's a villain. Sorry, Quest. Toronto's no better, so. Alright, and the last one is hashtag Venmo me. Pick a color to reveal your fortune. We've increased the amount of winners so you could be looking at money. Drop your Venmo and share this post to enter hashtag Venmo me. Must follow at Venmo, no purchase necessary, ends 4/6, US only, 18 plus, Venmo account required, rules. Venmo.com/social/giveaway. Could throw that right into Turn Some Pages, I guess. I don't know. I feel like this would lead to a lot of people requesting money from other people's Venmo accounts. I don't know about putting my Venmo out in the front on Twitter, because I don't know how Venmo works. Although you guys all have my PayPal sitting in the links here, so I have no idea. This just seems like a bad idea to me. But I guess we'll see what happens. There are a lot of people that are trying to get Venmo today. We'll see. All right, let's head out of here for the day, because that's number 5, and we're done. I gotta fix my transitions, I really do. It's a cut, but we want to edit it. Now it's going to be fade. Let's see if that worked. On the fly production. Hey, now it's a fade again. A fade like I clearly don't have over here because I have long hair. Alright, let's head out of here for the day. Because I've got to get to work, I got to get something to eat and then get to work. And you guys have got to get on with your days as well. Well, thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat today. It looks like, I mean, the live chat only showed 4 all day today, but it looks like there were a lot more of you guys in here. So thank you guys for that. Thanks for coming in and keeping us on flow and honest. And if you are just lurking, I don't know if I saw Arbolt's name in there or not. I know Ron saw Arbolt somewhere, but I don't know if I saw him in there or not. But if you were just lurking, make sure you get at least one message in. So I can come in and write your name in this little handy notebook here and say, hey, thanks. And that'll come on Friday when we check in with some of the live chat for the day as well. So definitely come back and do that. Come back here tomorrow and we will check out some more news headlines. We'll probably talk more about Ketanji Brown Jackson and why it is that she's evil, because that's the only thing that the news media wants to talk about right now. We'll talk about the vote. We'll probably talk about Ukraine. We will probably talk about Title 42 and so much more. It's going to be a crapshoot, and it all depends on what the mainstream media tells us that we want to think here. So definitely looking forward to that. We will see you here tomorrow for more Contemporary. Stick around if you're on Twitch. We will raid as usual, and we will see you next time. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.